All right, so I've been seeing the videos popping up on YouTube of people reacting to the community results. I have not taken a look at any of those videos since I wanted to do it myself and react accordingly to my own opinions. So we're going to dive right in. Community results for the Classic Plus project surveys. Let's go. I'm just going to try and pick out the ones that I think are going to be the most interesting to talk about. So I'm going to be skipping around a little bit. But yeah, we'll just go through it. We'll just start on question 1 since it pops up automatically. Which faction do you usually play? A Switch, 41%, and then a split between Horde and Alliance. Kind of makes sense. All right, how old are you? Yeah, kind of saw that coming. We all kind of knew this, but it's good to see. Majority are in their 30s. I'm in there. All right, would you pay a box fee for Classic Plus? If so, how much? Depends on how much shown / promised. Of course, people, yeah. No, if it costs more than just my active subscription, I won't play. 60 plus, 40 plus, 20 plus, or $20, no opinion. So it's like, I think majority of people are willing to pay for Classic Plus. It's just, obviously it depends what they're showing us. Not that many people are unwilling to pay, so I mean, yeah, they probably would add a dollar amount to it, and they need to be careful with that. So, yeah. All right, should the size of raids be reduced from 40? Reduce required raid size to 20 and allow me to raid more than 20, like in SOD. Reduce required raid size but implement flex rating. And then one also down here is reduce raid size with no flexibility. So all three of these are reduced raid size. So what, that's 70% plus another 11%. So like almost 80% of people want raids reduced from 40, which I think makes sense because 40 is it's just too much, man. It's just too many. I think some people will be 12% want to keep it that way, and they probably don't have any issues fighting 40, but it's a big entry to barrier to entry for like more casual raiders to get into like a 40 and be able to put that much time into raiding. All right, should Dungeon Finder be implemented? Yes, but only to group up. Still need to go to the dungeon, travel to the dungeon. Yes. And then yes, like it's done in Modern WoW by auto grouping and teleporting you inside the dungeon 12%. And yeah, no. So most people like the way it is, and I think it just makes sense. Like you're spamming in trade chat, looking for a group, like whatever. It just kind of consolidates all into like that board and just makes sense. Should summoning stones be outside of raids? Yes, a lot of people do really like this. Putting warlocks out of business. Good. Should there be heroic dungeons? Depends how they implement them, of course, and a lot of people still said yes. Yeah. More content, more fun. What features of world buffs would you want to see in Classic Plus? World buffs don't belong in raids. No world buffs ever, 36%. Alternative source and world buffs, purchasable consumables like inside, Chronoboon, various. So yeah, I think most people are talking about world buffs from the perspective of raiding. So if we combine these two, well, that's 73%. Pretty much don't want world buffs, because saying you don't want them in raids kind of is saying like you don't want world buffs, which is, I think a lot of people are sick of world buffs being required for raids. So I think, yeah, and most people do agree that that is the biggest issue. It's not necessarily world buffs themselves, but obviously world buffs go to the end game and are kind of necessary, or like, why would you not get them? It makes everything easier and quicker and smoother. But it's just kind of an agonizing process to continue to do this. So people definitely want changes to world buffs when it comes to raiding, which completely makes sense. Should the mount level requirements be lowered? 56% no, keep my mounts the same level. Yes, let them get mounts earlier. Yeah, people I think like it. It's a big milestone. You are just craving move speed every step of the way. When you finally hit 40 and you get enough gold and you get your mount, you feel like you are flying. It's such a good feeling. Should flying mounts be implemented? This has to be no, right? Yeah, 80%. People even like going back in, TBC anniversary and saying flying sucks, and I'm starting to agree with them. I think flying changes a lot about the game, so much actually. Even slow mounts. I think 280 is kind of crazy when I really think about it. Like, that's insane. But yeah, so people really don't like flying mounts for classic. Should guild banks be implemented? Of course. I just, why would you say no to this? Why? Yeah, please. How do you feel about transmog being added to Classic Plus? Transmog bad, 50%. Transmog good. I think transmog bad for Classic. Yeah, like I said, it's when you go into town, you see someone wearing the armor, you know what they've done, you know where they've been, and you can be like, damn, what an achievement to wearing that cool looking gear. I think it's really cool. Should probably stay out of the game for Classic. Should Classic allow GDKPs? 55.7 saying no. And then also 20% saying no opinion. I think I said no opinion because I never really was into the GDKPs. So I don't really know the arguments of saying for good, for bad. But it seems like most people don't want them. Should level cap be increased to 60 from 60? Depends how long after launch would have to see, and no, never. So most people are hesitant to increase the level cap to 60, and I think it makes sense because 60 still takes a long time, especially for a casual player. So like increasing it, but they also could do it like in TBC, they increase it but also reduce the overall required XP. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, right? New zones, of course. But also no, keep the original zones and just expand upon them, which there are several zones that are not fully fleshed out or even done at all, basically. But I think people just want new content in the game they love. Yeah. If yes, where in Azeroth or beyond would you want? Anywhere on Azeroth. Only the 2 main continents. So a lot of people just want, doesn't matter. Anywhere in Azeroth and other planet dimensions. People just, yeah, basically people just really be wanting new zones in some iteration. Should leveling be sped up? No, it's great. Yes, but not at launch. Speed it across the board. Yeah, like kind of like just the question prior. People like the leveling process and how it is, so, and I agree, yeah. Classic Plus have new classes? No, but then also 35% yes. The ones we've seen, but also completely new classes we've never seen before. And also yes. So yes combined, what, 47%? Kind of, it outweighs no. So people, and then, but no opinion. You add no opinion onto no, but then you... So, people, yeah, people want new classes, which I can see that, but I don't know. I think I'd be fine with them staying the same, but fleshing out the old classes, but... Yeah, sure. Alright, so should Horde have Paladins and Alliance Shamans? I'm going to say overwhelmingly yes. I just feel like that. 71%. And 21% saying no, but most people want this to just be streamlined, which makes sense. Because if you want to play with your friends and they're playing Horde or whatever, and you're like, damn, I want to play a Pally, you can't. It just kind of makes it better for everybody, I think. Classes be reworked. Let's see. New spells that modernize the rotations, Rat Pally, just don't completely change them. A lot, 48%. Some quality of life added, totemic, warlock, summoning gate, combo point persistence would be nice, but don't fix what ain't broke. Yeah, most people are pretty hesitant to kind of rework, or actually they want some rework, but they don't want to go overboard and make it closer and closer to further iterations of the game, which makes sense. Yeah, very good to see. Of the following, what is the most important changes or needs of raid buffs? Raid buffs should be single cast raid wide. People want this really bad. Raid buffs should be cost less mana, and raid buffs should no longer require rage. And so people definitely want big changes to raid buffs in general. But yeah, if you just added this one, I think it takes away, like, people just be like, okay, well, mana cost is still high, but at least I don't have to cast it 50 times. So yeah, it's such a pain. Should talent specializations be reworked? Somewhat, only lightly touch. Absolutely, I want to see reworks across the board. So I mean, this kind of makes sense. Some of the talent specs are just outdated, of course. 20-year-old game. So yeah, people want to see some sort of changes to the specs, which of course, yeah. Should fourth new talent specialization be added for classes like Guardian Druid and Tank Shaman? I feel like people say yes. Yes, but limit to hybrid classes, roles that didn't get fleshed out. Rat Pally, etc. Definitely give everyone something new. No. There's I mean, pretty decent split here, but people want some hybrid classes to get kind of changed a little bit. And then what people do want to see something new for everybody. Why not? More content, better content, you know? But no, decent amount of people saying no, not at all. So decent spread here. Should dual spec be implemented? I mean, it's already implemented. Taking it back would be so bad. But 4% of people saying no, which is kind of crazy. Like, damn, son. Dual spec is a healer main's dream. It's so nice. Should new professions be added? Yes, sounds awesome. But decent amount of people saying no. The originals are fine. Yeah. More content. Should professions be updated to be more endgame relevance? Oof, 91%. Yeah, of course. Alright, moving on. Alright, to dungeons. Pick the top 3 dungeons you enjoy leveling in Classic WoW. BRD, Deadmines, SM Cath, Zul'Farrak, and then we get a big jump down. SFK Armory, a little bit of jump, Wailing Caverns, Library, Elbers, Maraudon. And the least favorite dungeons of Classic WoW, according to this survey, are both RFK, RFD, BFD. People don't like BFD? Damn. I like BFD. RFC, Stockades, Gnomeregan, Sunken Temple, Uldaman, Graveyard, and then kind of get a decent bump up to Maraudon, I'd say, where it starts kind of getting more accepted. I think this makes sense. BRD is like the dungeon, the dungeon of Classic WoW. Deadmines is definitely up there. Most people, I feel like, play Alliance, even though, I mean, obviously there's a lot of Horde, but Deadmines is a classic, and then Cathedral is amazing, of course. It's like the end of Scarlet Monastery, and Zul'Farrak is amazing. Yeah, but not necessarily. I think this all makes sense, really, but this is very surprising to me. People rank Gnomeregan and Stockades above BFD. RFK RFD, like Stockades is wow, and I just can't believe these two specifically are not at the bottom. But I guess RFK RFD are kind of forgettable. But damn, no love for BFD. You know, it'd be like that. Pick the top 3 dungeons that you'd rework. Sunken Temple, it's kind of confusing, you know, it's long, it's kind of crazy, sure. And then Gnomeregan Stockades. So people agree that Gnomeregan Stockades need desperate reworks, but they aren't the worst dungeons in the game. So this kind of reinforces my point. I agree. Thank you. Should more effort be put into crafting new dungeons or improving old? Try to balance. New dungeons would be more fun at launch. Focus on them. New dungeons can come whenever. Old zones are in dire work. I mean, yeah, I think of course you'd want to try and find a balance, but people would expect new dungeons at some point. How do you feel about lockout caps? Critically important to prevent OP classes from farming certain enemies, keep them in the game. 5 per hour. Doesn't really affect me, whatever. I hate lockout caps. They're fun detected. Solution to a problem that isn't a problem. So people are kind of, they they kind of like lockout caps, which I think I agreed with. So yeah, I mean, 5 per hour, like how many dungeons can you even do in an hour? But like full dungeons, of course, you can't really. But yeah, it does kind of suck when you aren't like a stealth class or something, like a mage, and you can't just go into, or hunter, you can't solo Dire Maul, like, and like make all this money and like get this crazy stuff. So yeah, I think that makes sense, and that's why people feel that way, because they don't play those certain classes. Kind of sucks. How do you feel about rotating random bosses like in BRD? People love BRD. Let's see what they say. These bosses add fun variety week to week. Lockout makes each run different. I would just want to see them remove. Don't care. I don't like these. Remove them. In no opinion. So this is a very good spread here, but people tend to like them. Yeah. Okay, cool. Should heroic dungeons be in Classic Plus? Yes, overwhelmingly yes. Okay. Should player power chase items be extremely low drop rates in dungeons? It's kind of fun to have something to chase, even if it's a small chance, super small. I love these items and would be disappointed to see them removed or changed. Removing these is annoying and feels like I'm never getting them. Just remove them. So people obviously, like, they get to a point where they hate farming it, but there's still like you still have something to chase for. It's like, and then when it drops, it's just pure bliss. And it's really cool when you see these items drop. You're like, everyone gets excited. So yeah, I think people like that aspect of it, and yeah. So, and a lot of overwhelmingly people agree. Should there be solo challenges? No. This type of content turns MMOs into single player RPGs. Content is bis. Yes, please. I won't do it, but I'm sure others think it's fun. Damn, I wasn't expecting this. Almost even here on no and yes, and then indifferent. Should Dungeon Finder be implemented? If so, it teleports you to dungeon or only groups you. Yes, but only in-game UI to assist forming groups, yeah. Should summoning zones be outside raids? Yes, summoning zones are a nice quality of life. No, getting dungeon adds to experience. So people are kind of over it, huh? It does kind of suck when like someone's super far away and you have no way to get them there, and then you have to wait like 20 minutes to get just to run a dungeon. Yeah, kind of makes sense. All right, questing and leveling. How do you feel about the leveling cadence in Vanilla World of Warcraft? Average 120 to 160 hours level cap. It's just right. A lot of people really like it. It's too slow. I'd want Classics Plus sped up. It's too quick. Extend it so that hitting cap takes months and months. Wow. Yeah, I think most people think it's a long time to grind, but it's not insane, but it's a good amount. But no, third of people taking the thing think it's way too slow. It needs to be sped up. So, but 10 people seem to actually really like leveling, and I think that makes sense. It is classic. Should attunements be account wide? Yes, doing attunements over and over feels really bad. Makes alts feel easier to play. Yes, but maybe make it so it's short and quest line instead of simply account wide. And no, doing attunements on alts is part of the connects to alt story. Streamlining that ruins it. It's a decent spread here, but most people agree, like overwhelmingly 80%, that something should be changed, because it does kind of, I think it kind of sucks. Like, like having to do the full attunement over again, like on an alt, it feels bad, man. Even on your main, like it can be tough. So something kind of needs to be streamlined. I think people tend to agree. Makes sense. All right, should there be level up raids that give strong items or required 10 plus people? Sod. Yes, people did enjoy that, huh? I'm not sure how I like it. It kind of seems weird, but I guess it could work. So, but I mean, people like raiding and like earlier raiding, because like everyone's available. You kind of get a taste of raiding while you're leveling. It feels good. So I think maybe I'm tending to agree more with that. How do you feel about catch-up raids ZGAQ20? Catch-up raids are great for getting alts. Welcome addition. I don't care as long as it's fun. Catch-up raids invalidate all the work I did. And no. Yeah, people tend to like these. They're just fun. Like, classic really is not about being insanely good at the game, all this difficulty. Like, go play retail, really. I mean, that's just how it is. The game is so much different now. So it doesn't really, it's not bad that there's catch-up raids, I think, and most people tend to agree. RP elements and raids. First and second time is fun, but eventually it gets annoying. Removing RP is what makes Classic special. Don't change it. Wow, there's a big divide here. So, big split here. Interesting to see. I think both of these kind of make sense. So, people do like their raid boss RPs. How do you feel about raids getting nerfed days or weeks after launch? Outliers aside, nerfs never feel good and should never happen. Let players struggle. We'll get it eventually. Oh, 53%. I'm interested. This one's interesting. Nerfs should happen once, announced well ahead of time, and then never again after the content. Things changing rapidly makes it difficult to assess my progress compared to other players. So people really don't like the nerfs, which I think, yeah, I think it kind of makes sense. I think, yeah, it's also like, it feels weird to like do like nerfs in Classic. Like, nerfs are kind of like a thing in Raid and Modern WoW because they basically they tune the raids for the world first, and then they have to adjust it for everybody else because they aren't degenerate and insane. So yeah, just you need to make it good at the beginning. What's your rank your ideal raid size for Classic Plus? So most people really like 20, 25, and 10, but this one overwhelmingly is 20, and it actually jumps quite a bit. I didn't realize 2.3 to 3.1 on 25. So people, 20 is the sweet spot, it seems like, and 25 and 10 are very, very close, and then there's a bit of a jump to 15, bit of a jump to 30, and a jump to 40, and 35 is just out there. So at 20, it just seems like 20. People really like 20, and I think that's what I voted for too. I think I did something similar to this. Yeah, 20 is the magic number for raid size. Should raids have multiple difficulties? No. And then yes, there's needs some people say yes. I mean, which makes sense. Like, if you want to go be crazy and sweat, go do hard mode. But then a lot of people say no and just makes two different many versions of the bosses and kind of takes away from what Classic is. But I think this is closer than I anticipated. But majority of people say one difficulty. Should cooldowns be reset in raids after a wipe successful? Yes, have them reset so I don't have to wait between pulls. No, leave it a Classic. Leave it as it was in vanilla. CDs shouldn't reset. So still a decent 31% of people say it should just stay the way it is. It's the way vanilla is. But a lot of people do want some changes. It kind of does suck. Like, you're waiting for them anyway, right? Like, yeah. World bosses. Oh, it's wow. Completely even. I don't really mind. Never felt like I was missing much. World bosses and competition to get them are fun, part of my Classic. Great. I'd be disappointed to see changes. World bosses are annoying. Incentivize players no lifing so they can scout spawn. Should be removed or changed. Yeah, so people are very like, this is almost even completely. Like, yeah. So people, yeah. World bosses, I think a lot of people don't even think about them. Okay, how would you want world bosses to look in Classic? Should be more accessible to everyone, so making them instanced like they were in SOD, good change. World bosses should never be instanced. Makes them super lame and not fun. The race tag is fun, defend. I like world bosses, but I feel like the instance version didn't really capture the magic of them. Maybe some type of hybrid. This is also pretty much split, but seems like people, if any, or not that many people say they didn't care, so it seems like most people kind of like want world bosses to be more relevant. How long should raid gear remain relevant? Current gear should be comparable to or slightly worse than the next. I'm not sure. It's a hard question that will require some solution, but I don't see a clear answer. Current gear should be relevant for 2+ tiers. Only the current tier replace most all gear in the following raid. So most people, that's a decent split here, but current gear should be comparable to or slightly worse than the next tier. And then I'm not sure. So yeah, I mean, seems like people kind of want raid gear to be pretty good for at least some period of time. Like, you don't want to just like get it and then replace it immediately. It kind of feels like all this work you did, it was for nothing. Should Classic Plus allow GDKPs? No. Incentivize the real money trading and botting. Yes, I like them. No opinion. So yeah, people just don't like them. So it's hard, like I said, I don't really know much about GDKPs. I didn't participate in them, but it seems like people overall just don't really like them. Should there be more fast travel options like in Classic Plus? More Zeppelins and ships, flight pass all over. Decent amount of people want portals. Multiple Hearthstone locations. So I think people really like part of like traveling in the essence. Like, it really just feels like in the spirit of Classic. It makes everything feel more real and big. So it seems most people just like kind of wanted to say the same, but just like maybe, you know, buff it up a little bit. More ships and stuff. More flight pass makes sense. So, and I think I tend to agree. Just kind of needs just more of what we have to make it a little easier to get around sometimes. Which of the following talent trees, in your opinion, need major revamping? Rat Pally, Balance Druid, which were the two classes I've been playing the most of. Prot Pally, Arcane Mage, Enhancement Shaman, Survival, Shadow, Feral, and then Elemental, and then we kind of give a drop off. So yeah, Rat Pally and Balance, which is two classes I've leveled out of the 3 to 60. The other one was a Priest. So I'd be doing it out here. I'd be struggling on my own accord. Should new roles be for some classes be added? People really want Tank Paladin to be better. Of course, Tank Shaman come on. Melee Hunter. Yeah, I think these are the biggest ones, right? These ones just make sense. Tank Warlock is kind of weird. Healing Mage is like, I think gets out of the aspect of like Classic, and that's why Sod was fun with that, I think. Tank Rogue. These three just, I think, should make some appearance in Classic Plus. It'd be great. Tank Shaman seems super fun. And why not be a Melee Hunter? Should every class get a movement speed, ability, or talent? No. Not every class should move quickly. Not sure. Depends how they implement it. And yes, if people want there to be discrepancies between classes, it really what sets each class apart from the other. So yeah, I mean, people really like to move around fast in Classic. That's, you know, most people get boots enchanted to get a move speed, but yeah. Should mass res be in the game? Yes. A lot of people say no. I mean, why? Can we just, at least for raids, can we mass res? Come on. Out of 10, how much do you like the current racial system? 7. Yeah. How do you feel about rebalancing the racial abilities? Balance them for all races, but don't change the whole system. No rebalancing needed. Allow you to change racials for whatever combination you want. Has a decent amount of exposure, 15.8%. Remove combat racials so all races perform the same in the chosen spec. Not that many people like that. So people generally just want more balance, right? Like, which I think is very understandable. I mean, some of them are just kind of crazy. Like if you're playing a warrior on Horde and you aren't orc, like for endgame and stuff, like you're kind of trolling, right? Like, because they get that axe bonus, like. Yeah. So, yeah. Just balance them, please. How do you feel about cross-faction play in Classic Plus? Allow it for dungeons and raids. No cross-faction whatsoever. Identical. Allow it in BGs. I think that makes sense. Allow it in open-world PvE content. So, people, it's very split, but allow it for dungeons and raids, and then not at all, which... I mean... Because... But even in Classic, they work together. Like for summoning AQ, like opening the gates of AQ and all this stuff, like they work together. So it's not like a foreign concept. Like it's not like they've always been at war with each other. But that is like a big part of what makes Classic classic. That was the original story. But would it break? Do people really care? I don't know if people really care. Like it's like a lore thing. Like I don't know all the lore. I feel like most people don't know anything about the lore at all. So I don't know. It feels weird for it to be in Classic, but does it really matter? Do I really care? I don't know. But I guess if they added like the shamans and ret pally or the pallies thing to Horde and Alliance, it probably isn't that big of a deal. I don't know, but it is interesting to see this result. All right, here we go. How do we feel about current faction dynamic? Maintaining the two faction dynamic is critical to the lore. Add a third faction to keep the game fresh. No opinion. So I guess, yeah, this is maybe why people voted like they did. The two factions are a big component of what makes Classic classic. So yeah, people really do like how it is right now, and it would break their immersion and philosophy of the game if you were allowed to group up with the opposite faction. Should the regular auction house be cross-faction? I think people are gonna say yes. Oh, it is kind of split. It's pretty close, but no, you can already use the neutral auction house. Yeah, it makes sense, but I thought people would be more open to this, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty close, but yeah, keep it the way it is. All right, this one I was interested in under itemization. Should classes get a strong buff when they wear a full set of gear in the highest equipable equipment type? Warriors, plate, shamans, mail, druids, leather. Because I don't remember when they added this. Was it in Wrath or something? It's been in the game for a while. You get a bonus for wearing all of the same leather or all the same gear, like the highest you can wear. So like warriors wearing plate, like they say here, like you get a bonus of like whatever strength or something. So it really kind of forces you to wear the gear you're supposed to, instead of like in classic, because warriors can wear, you know, plate might be bis and helm, but then leather is bis and shoulders, etc. But then it kind of creates this very large item loot dynamic where it's like, oh, it's a leather piece, druids can only wear leather, but hey, it's bis for warriors as well. So what do you want me to do? It's my bis. So let's see what people say about this. Yes, let the leather wearers have their leather without competition from warriors. No, leave the way it is, no gear type buff. So I think this probably really depends on who you ask. So if you're not asking a warrior, I think they probably tend to agree with this. So 60%, so quite a bit of people think it should be that way. Like, not necessarily, you shouldn't really be able to gear mix. Okay, I wasn't sure how people would go on this one, but people are probably tired of getting all their loot stolen by warriors, you know? Should weapon skill remain in the game? I think people will say yes. Keep it but speed it up at the rate which you level up. Keep it as is, remove it. Let me swing my new axe. So, what? 73% say you should keep it in some aspect, which I think it really doesn't, it's not that big of a deal. You can level it so quickly anyway. I mean, it still takes some time, right, to get to like back once you start getting to like the diminishing returns, like you get close to your level. But like if you go, say you have access at 300 and you pick up a new sword at 1, it's gonna take you, I mean, what, 200 plus swings, but it goes by pretty quickly. But yeah, if anything, they could increase it, but I think weapon skill is kind of fun. All right, mechanic survey. Which version of layers would you want to see in Classic Plus? Multiple identical layers, as many as necessary to prevent lag, stop world when we're feeling too crowded. Layers only out in the world, no layers in large cities. No layers, one simultaneous reality for all players. So it seems like majority of people are kind of good with layers, because yeah, imagine if you had 1,000 people, like it's just kind of crazy on one layer. But I think layers out in the real world is cool, but no layers in large cities. It, like when you go back to the cities and you see all the people standing around, it just feels good. It's like, wow, these people are actually all playing the game with me. Like we're in this world together. I think it makes it way more connected. It's like, yeah, but people kind of do like layers for the reason they're implemented. How would you feel if mobs scaled with your level in the open world? No level scaling. Yes, it sucks, man. Like it's like you can, because even if you're full bist, you can go into like a low level dungeon and you can still like die. Like You're not just invincible with the best gear in the game. So it's like there's still danger in the world. Like obviously you'd have to pull it insane, right? But like you can still go to these lower level zones and just like kill everything one shot. Even sometimes you have bis gear, even like an auto attack won't one shot even like a level like 20 mob, you know, like, but you can easily kill them. Yeah, I think the notes people really don't like this, and I agree. Should Classic Plus increase the view distance of enemy nameplates from vanilla range 20 yards, how it is in TBC, and beyond at 40 yards? Yes, please. Yeah, I wasn't sure, but people really want this, and yes, please. It's so hard to go from like retail to classic and stuff like that to see like that difference in it. It's just, it makes such a big difference. All right. PvP survey. Should there be war mode in Classic Plus? No war mode. Make a choice on server. Select PvP or PvE. War mode is fine, but don't give increased XP. War mode make a great addition. So people really just, yeah, PvE and PvP servers. And if you're on PvE, you can just go PvP mode, which is war mode, essentially. So they, yeah, PvP is just all fair game. Should the PvP trinket cooldown be reduced from 5 minutes? I've also heard this one from some PvPers. Oh, this discussion, let's see. Yes. Oh. Should be reduced. So yeah, people think it should be reduced overall. 5 minutes. Probably to what, like 3 minutes? But yeah, some reduction. 5 minutes is too long for a lot of people. All right. All right, that's the end of it, I think, really. Maybe there's some things that I missed, the big ones that I missed. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to see all these results. I love this kind of stuff. So it was pretty fun to go back through this and see what the rest of people think. And yeah, Classic Plus is on the horizon, boys.